Hello everyone, we are Geeks Not Nerds. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Vince.
And I'm Troy.
We've got Troy back again to help us review Dredd. And Troy, thanks for coming back.
Glad to be here.
We haven't seen Troy since Columbiana, and that will hopefully be the last time I ever have to say that, because boy was that a bad movie.
Yeah, it was. Most definitely.
See, what was wrong with Columbiana? If you want to find out, watch our video. Short answer.
But anyway, so it's been about a year since we've had Troy on. Troy's been off doing everything he's been doing, and now he's back in town finally. Troy, you lived out of state, right?
I did. I lived in Oklahoma for the last 2 years.
And you were in the service. Were you in the Army? Or?
Active duty Army. Yeah, it's, in the commo section, satellite communications.
And now you're out for good, or
out for good? Never going back. Never want to do it again.
Great. Well.
Footloose and fancy free.
Well, congratulations. I hope you got something out of the experience.
I did. I got almost $50,000 in student loans paid off.
All right.
As you might be able to tell, this is also the first video we're shooting in my new place. You're in the Batcave right now, and I'm going to do a video here in a few days, hopefully showing you the rest of the house and the rest of the Batcave, but we've got it behind us, and it's actually, my office is part of the Batcave, and so you can see my work area back here and everything, and anyway,
office.
We're super stoked about it. This is kind of Geekvolution HQ now, and we've got lots of cool stuff going on. We'll show you more later on. Right now, it's time for Dredd. And Vince, why don't you go ahead and start us off? We'll put 10 minutes on the clock. And real quick, I think, which won't mean anything, but that's what we do here. And
you say time for Dredd, and I just want to go.
It's time for Dredd! So we're going to put 10 minutes on the clock. Vince, really briefly, go ahead and start us off and tell us just kind of what you thought of the movie and springboard us into a discussion. Go ahead.
Tune in next time when we talk about worry. So,
it's time for worry.
I really enjoyed Dredd. I'll say that I don't think it's the most complex or most unique action movie, but I feel like it's the action movie that ought to be. It's a movie that does most everything right. And it sets him up and it knocks him down, is the thing I usually like to say. I was really surprised that every little thing had a setup earlier in the movie. It wasn't just explosions, there was explanations that happened throughout. I was pretty pleased by that. Now, I could keep going, or we could just talk about it.
Well, Vince, apparently, considering how horribly it bombed over the weekend, and it bombed horribly, it was the action movie that we deserve, but not the one we need right now. The deal is, this, in my mind, is the Dredd movie that people need to get what that character's supposed to be, it felt like comic book Dredd, it looked like comic book Dredd, and most importantly, it wasn't the be-all, end-all of Dredd movies, it was, here's an adventure in this universe, go. And more comic book movies need to be like this.
Yeah.
The problem is, they aren't, because they don't sell! So that was an unfortunate thing for me. I also think, though, the advertising was terrible. I saw almost nothing for this movie
Yeah,
anywhere.
it's true. I mean, I didn't even know about it until a couple weeks before when a friend of mine had said, hey, they're coming out with a new Judge Dredd movie. And I went online and looked up some trailers, but other than that, I hadn't even heard that it was coming out.
I didn't realize it was actually coming out in theaters the week that it was coming out. I went, oh, Dredd's coming out. Troy, you want to go see Dredd? He's like, yeah, let's go watch it. I don't know why I'm holding my computer in the palm of my hand. Look, Dredd's coming out.
Don't you think also that part of the problem was that people saw it as a remake to a bad movie?
Yeah, I think that really probably barred a lot of people from wanting to go see it.
And this is a distinction to make. And I have been talking about doing a GNN on this, and I think we will. It's not a remake.
Not at all.
It's a movie based on source material that they got wrong the first time, but it's a new movie based on the same source material. It is not a remake.
Sans Rob Schneider.
Yeah, thank God. And no irritating plucky relief whatsoever.
No, really not at all.
In fact, all the casting was good. I liked every character that I was supposed to like, and I hated all the characters I was supposed to hate, but still found them at least, all of them at least marginally interesting.
You don't like Rob Schneider? You don't like somebody standing around saying, you can do it, Dredd, shoot his effing head off?
No.
Okay.
But it sounds like you were born to play that role.
Oh, tears.
So, if you haven't seen it yet, Yeah, just I want to warn you. Usually with these new movie reviews, we don't do spoilers. We're gonna spoil here, partly because it's a very simple movie, and I don't know how to talk about it without giving away things.
Right.
The other thing is nobody went and saw it, so I feel like this is a chance to tell some people that it was good and why it was good and what was cool in it if you didn't get a chance to see it, because it's already getting hard to go to because the theaters are pulling it real fast.
Right.
Because nobody saw it over the weekend. So anyway, we are gonna spoil during this, and Vince, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about what the movie's about, and then we'll just start talking about things. So what's the movie about, Vince?
I think what the movie is about is an extension of the Dredd mythos in general. It's really about the degradation of American society. We have an America that is extremely congested. I mean, we only have 2 super cities, and like you have an entire state that is within the confines of a skyscraper. It's really congested, it's really crime-ridden, and there was something that you said earlier when you were talking to me on the phone that I thought was really cool. It was, what'd you say?
Well, don't ask me to remember it.
No, remember it, now.
I said many things, Troy.
It was something to the effect of people are just waiting to die.
Oh, yeah.
Because they know life is short. And I think that's largely what the movie is about thematically. But we also get character arcs for the 2 main characters. We have Judge Anderson, we have Judge Dredd. And we do ultimately see that come to fruition. Now, I think that we can bring that out with details during the discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. What I thought was really cool was that the main crux of the plot being kind of a big drug running plot, and I generally don't care for those sorts of stories, but it worked really well in the context of this kind of science fiction world. We've got this villain named Mama who's trying to basically take over as much territory as she can through the selling of this drug called slow-mo. So I guess it's what Zack Snyder is on when he's making movies. And
which shows you how badly it affects people in real life.
And I'm kidding, because I actually like Snyder slow-mo sometimes, but I figured Vince would appreciate that joke. But anyway, so I thought...
made that joke after yourself.
I thought the slow-mo... I wasn't there, I didn't know. I thought the slow-mo thing was really cool because it had a lot to do thematically with what the rest of the movie was about. Because you've got judges who, just like regular Judge Dredd mythos, they go around and they're able to dispense justice by themselves, but there aren't enough of them. And the movie, I think, a lot of the crux of it is exploring why there aren't very many of them. You have both people who are not cut out to be judges, like the woman that's working with Dredd. By the end, she's just emotionally not cut out for it because of the kind of justice that she wants to dispense versus what they're supposed to do. And then you've also got the corrupt judges. So you've got all these people that they can't really do the job, and so crime is everywhere because you don't have enough of them. And of course, you can talk about what the problems are with that system itself. And then because of that, and because there's crime, everywhere, people die a lot and early, and it seems like everybody's just trying to survive and live as long as they can. So of course, people would easily get addicted to this drug that makes you feel like you're living longer. I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, and Vince and I talked about this after the movie was over, about how because they had that worked into the script, this drug, slow-mo, that elongated time, it actually gave them a chance to do slow-mo for the sake of slow-mo in the sense of camera shots. Rather than just having, let's slow this down because we want to see Neo do this a million times around some bullets. It's a cool camera shot, and it makes the movie look jazzy. Well, not only did I think the cinematography was really excellent in Dredd.
It is.
It's very pretty.
The slow-mo shots really worked and made you understand and gave you intuition into what the drug was doing to people in a way that a lot of movies just, someone's getting high, you can't really tell what the real effect it's having on them.
Now, in defense of the Matrix, I do think there is somewhat of a reason for the slow motion. Well, I have to say that because I know people will comment. I mean, like there is somewhat of a reason. I mean, that is how
in defense of the Matrix, but not in defense of the Matrix.
I was just trying to think of like a classic slow mo.
But I'm just saying that is how Neo's experiencing time at that point, and that is how these people are experiencing time. Right. But to your point, whenever you see that, it's so slow. I mean, you've got these scenes that I don't, and it doesn't drag the pacing of the movie down. But I mean, there's at least a good minute and a half. You're watching how these people are experiencing time, and you really get to feel it along with them. And it isn't just that things are moving slowly; the colors are different. There's these really interesting flashes and things that happen.
Makes it seem like you can get the hallucinogenic effect of the drug. And
Vince and I earlier on the phone were talking about how this is not the most memorable movie ever. If I take anything away from it that I will never forget, it's that effect.
Absolutely.
That is something that I have not exactly seen before.
Well, I think that really lends to the idea of anonymity that's played throughout the whole movie. Because, I mean, I was talking to someone else who had seen the movie, and they were saying they didn't like the fact that Dredd never took off his helmet. And I said, I loved that fact. I love the fact that it shows you that, you know, those judges wear that uniform for a reason. That when they get off duty, when they're off duty, and they take that off, you may not know who that guy's a judge.
Yeah.
You know, and I like the fact that you never see what Keith Urban.
Yeah, Carl
Urban.
Yeah.
You never actually see his face.
Who quickly is becoming one of my favorite actors.
Well,
he was wonderful.
I felt like, but that anonymity almost made it feel like you could plug anyone into that role that had the right, body build, tall, strong.
That's fair, but I still think he did a lot of acting beneath that helmet. I mean,
I don't know. I don't know if I necessarily
You don't think so? Okay, all right.
I have a theory. They talked to Carl Urban and said, hey, what do you want to do with Dredd? And he says, I want to do the exact opposite performance that Bane had.
But here's the thing. There actually was an interview with Carl Urban, and he actually did have quite a bit to do with the characterization. I don't know if you guys know this. Carl Urban actually is a big Dredd fan from before making this movie. He grew up with it, he read the comics, he knows them, and when he got the role, he watched the Judge Dredd movie to find out what not to do, and then he read every graphic novel he could get his hands on. And he said he wouldn't do the movie if Dredd took his helmet off. And when he read the script and he kept his helmet on, that's when he signed on for it. So I don't know if anybody could have been plugged into the role. I think you do have to have an understanding of who that character is and how stoic he is. And in my head, he had a lot of presence, even not having very many lines of dialogue. I mean, you could count on your digits how many times he spoke.
I see where you're coming with that, but I also think that, like, if you compare it, put it in comparison to other movies where people have done like intense mask work where you don't see their faces, like for instance V for Vendetta.
Oh yeah, sure.
I mean, Hugo Weaving does such an amazing job in that movie of portraying a really full, fleshed out person.
Yeah. Yeah, you're
without
right.
ever using any of his face,
Yeah. It's also a very... Yeah, but that's also a really dramatic character, too, you know what I mean? Like, he has a lot to do with his hands. I mean,
I will say that Carl Urban did a great job portraying Dredd. Part of the issue is that his portrayal of Dredd only really included him doing this.
I'm not saying I want somebody else in that role.
Yeah, okay, sure. I got you.
No, Carl Urban did a great job. It's just, I mean, you look at that guy and you're like, I don't think he's the only person that could have pulled that off.
No, I don't think he was the only person. I'm with you, but I just don't think you could have put anybody in the role.
And to a certain extent, I thought some of his I don't know, mouth expressions were. Keanu Reeves as Judge Dredd.
Sylvester
Stallone.
If you put Keanu Reeves in that role, he would have to take the drug, right? Sorry. I'm doing it again.
I completely derailed. Oh yeah. Carl Urban as Dredd. I thought it was almost comical sometimes how much of a grimace he actually had on his face. Because it seemed like he was trying to get the corners of his mouth out of his chin.
I kind of felt like it made it, the character aspect of it bigger and the larger-than-lifeness of Dredd. I mean, he's not necessarily your average... I mean, because if you look at him in comparison to the other judges weren't as stern and stoic.
No,
and
they were regular people on their off hours, and you could tell, even though we never saw them on their off hours. The guy that you said didn't get the whole point of the anonymity, the guy who said Dredd should have taken his helmet off, I think is missing a really key component thematically to this movie, which is two kinds of law that are battling each other between the roles of Dredd and Anderson. Anderson, by the way, being a very interesting character, and somebody. I mean, like you're taking a risk when you're putting a female character with Judge Dredd without a helmet, and they really pulled that off, and it worked really well. What you have is the anonymous law, where it's the faceless law. Dredd is the law. That's why he says that. That's why he says I am the law. And then you have her, who is who is all about taking things on a case-by-case basis.
Who should be more of a social worker.
Exactly, yeah, because she, she takes everything on a case-by-case basis. When
social worker with a gun.
When she, yeah,
we should give social workers guns.
No,
why
we should.
not?
When we get to the end, of this movie, and she's like, I can't be a judge. I don't want to be a judge because, and she was like, I'm gonna.
I failed and I'm okay with it.
I failed and I'm fine with it. I failed because I lost my gun, and I failed because I let that person go.
Right.
And, I think the telepathy was used to great effect in letting her know some things that Dredd couldn't know and stuff like that. But anyway, just that battle between these two kinds of law, and Dredd's character arc is coming a little bit closer to her side of it.
Vince had a good point. One of the few small incongruities that we came up with. Go ahead.
I got one or two too. Yeah,
with the telepathy, there's two things with the telepathy. The first one was if she's taking a test, why wouldn't she just pull the answers out of the head of the person who's testing her? So we can't really guarantee.
In reference to her being 3 points shy.
Exactly.
On becoming and then becoming a judge and having to go out with Dredd.
I
said though it was a written exam, and how do you pull the answers out of someone's head on a written exam?
Well, I'm not sure
she's isolated.
I'm not sure you could, because you could tell that she has that kind of telepathy where all she reads is whatever's on the surface at the moment. So if the person giving the test is just reading a book, she wouldn't know.
But she's also able to go in and manipulate. I mean, she manipulated the guy's mind at that one point.
Yeah, but she can't manipulate it to the point of just making him do anything she wants him to. So the guy would know she was manipulating him, and then she would lose the test. See. So I don't think that would work. The other thing too is
have a mosquito on
we didn't see this, but the other thing too is she could have just been isolated in a room without anybody there.
And then the other one.
The other one is she can read people's minds through the Judge Dredd helmet.
I agree with this.
Wearing the Judge Dredd helmet prevents her from reading other people's minds, or at least makes it harder.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any kind of sense.
Doesn't make any sense.
The only thing that I could think of is maybe there is a difference between a convex and a concave shape from the head. So if there's something that's like this, she can read through it. But if there's something that's wrapped around her head, she can't do it.
But it's a bit weak. The only reason that is in there is so that she's not wearing a helmet the whole movie, because thematically, visually, we need a judge with a helmet and a judge without a helmet.
And dehumanizes
And so I love that thematically, but the problem is it's too contrived. We simply needed some kind of an explanation as to why she was able to read through Dredd's helmet. The thing is, this isn't the kind of movie that has a lot of technobabble. It's science fiction, but it does move at a clip, and it doesn't want to get dragged down with exposition. So they've got a tough thing to deal with, but I think that is definitely a problem. Isn't huge, but somewhat of a problem. One thing that bugged me, and I was telling Vince about this earlier, was that they got to the end, and all of a sudden, Dredd felt the need to ask for a plea. He said, how do you plead? And he didn't do that with anybody else the rest of the movie.
Right.
The whole movie. In Stallone's movie, he did it every time he sentenced somebody. He said, how do you plead? And it was kind of a jokey thing in that movie. I don't know. I'm assuming it's in the comics. I've not read a lot of Judge Dredd comics, so I don't know if it's there. This thing seemed really faithful to what I do know about it, and honestly, and people that know Dredd better than me tell me if I'm right about this, but it seemed like really it could have even fit within the regular continuity of the comics, because it's just an adventure in this universe, and it almost works in real time. It's like a day in the life of Dredd. It works
right.
in the whole thing. There's almost no time between scenes. It's like watching an episode of 24 with Judge Dredd in it. You know.
I agree with you. It feels
but that was
jokey
weird
to me, not just because of the earlier movie, but because it's not like at any point your plea is going to change the judge's verdict.
Yeah, well, and the thing is, it could be one of those things where every now and again it plays into it, but here it was just sort of like he's just being dramatic, and this is not a character that just does things for dramatic effect. The other place,
he's all business.
And then there was another place where he did earlier in the movie where he said it's judgment time, and I didn't like that at all, because again, this is not a one-liner type character, you know. That seemed like something that could have been in that other movie, so I did resist that quite a bit.
Maybe pleas are really for people who are guilty of extreme crimes.
Man, he shot everybody else, though. I mean, like
she is the owner, operator, constructor. She is the head mob boss within this particular skyscraper construct, and she is ruining everybody's life within this and controlling everybody's life. maybe the plea is necessary. I don't know. I'm just spitballing.
I don't think the pleas would be something he would... I would think the opposite. It would be for a minor crime.
Yeah, I think so too. And you can't just say that he only does it when he's not, like, in the middle of a firefight, because I could see why he would execute somebody in the middle of a firefight without saying that, because you're in a firefight.
You're being shot at.
But we saw him at other points sentence people not to death, sentence people just to send them in the ISO cubes or whatever.
Right.
And he didn't ask for a plea there either. So anyway, that was something I wondered about. Not a giant thing. There weren't any huge giant plot holes or anything.
I would say, I mean, regardless of the little critiques I have about the movie, it still was at least an 8 out of 10 for me. I thought it was, you know, like I said, well shot, well acted, and...
The only thing that really disappoints me about it is that it did so poorly opening weekend and is obviously not going to make its money back probably in the theater, that we'll probably never see another one. And this is a movie I wanted to see a sequel to, because it again, what's really cool about it is it feels like it feels like a one-shot length comic book. I mean, like, it's not an origin story, it's not about who is this Judge Dredd guy, it's giving us all of this really interesting information we want to know about this universe within the confines of a particular story, which is the way these things should go. And now that we've had that, we could now delve into more Dredd mythos stuff, and I would love to see that on screen, but I don't think we're ever going to.
That's something that I thought was really interesting, and how that really shows within Dredd's character arc. You know, when you look at the Sylvester Stallone movie, the problem is that they're trying to shake everything up, and they're trying to take Dredd and give him a huge story arc and completely change the guy from the ground up. But I don't necessarily want to see the Dredd movie where we have to know him in 10 minutes and then watch him change everything about him.
Right. Yeah, me neither.
And they, like, briefly touch on it for, like, half a second when she first reads his mind, and she's, like, delving into there, and then they just say, you know what, let's make an action movie.
And yeah,
and I like
and that was fine with me, because again, it wasn't just action for the sake of action. We learned things about this universe.
Right.
You know, we got into the stuff about the mutants a little bit. You know, we got some supernatural. We got somebody with telepathy. I'm glad that was in there. I would like to see the stuff about the cloning and the eugenics. That's a movie I want to see, because again, they did it poorly in Judge Dredd. That was a huge part of the comics. Dredd is a clone, and he did have a brother that was also a clone, and one turned out good and one turned out bad. And I would like to see that story done right, because it's awesome. There was also, I don't know if there were others, because I don't know Dredd that well, but there was at least one reference that I noticed where they showed that map really early on, and they showed you names of judges in different places, and one of them was Judge Hershey, and I thought that was really cool.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, I was like, oh look, there's Judge Hershey, and I bet she's not going to be in the movie, and she wasn't. I was like, this is cool. But anyway, I really enjoyed it. Again, it ain't going to change hearts and minds, but it's a good movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Judge Dredd's, maybe the reading of the mind of Judge Dredd early in the movie is one to kind of say that he's not exactly human, so that, you know, he is a clone, so there's something weird there, there's something different, what is it? And then they stop her from really delving into it. And then maybe also it's a way to say that we know this guy is a person who is very steadfast and not going to change his opinion. So she reads his mind, says that there's something there, and which means that there's some kinship between Judge Anderson and Judge Dredd. And then they get to the end, and he is allowed to make a choice that would be alternative to his typical choice, because we know that there might be a little bit of a link between Anderson and Dredd.
Yeah.
Well, and like we talked about, it might be a situation where I don't think they're necessarily... Judges don't have partners. So it's not like... I mean, at least I got that sense.
No, I didn't get the sense that they do. Sometimes they go in packs when they need backup.
And I feel like, although they wouldn't be partners or anything now, Judge Dredd would be comfortable with having her as backup or having her along, because he realizes her usefulness as a fellow judge.
But again, of course, ultimately it doesn't matter.
Right.
Because she leaves at the end because she can't dispense the kind of justice she thinks should be dispensed.
But she gets a pass, so does, I mean...
But she walks away. She hands it to him and leaves. I don't...
after she's left is when he tells his boss that she's a pass.
Yeah, that's right, but that doesn't mean that she's going to agree to come back.
It doesn't mean she won't, though.
No, but her character arc is all about going, I'm not cut out for this. This is, and because here's the thing, I thought that bringing back that line at the end that we got at the beginning in in like the overdub exposition of you know, the only thing that we have to deal with the chaos in the city are judges, I think is all about that idea. Is about how you've got Judge Dredd, who believes in the law as like this very finite thing that he kind of changes his mind a little bit by the end, but he's still pretty stoic about it. And then you have, you know, the bad judges on one end. And then you have people like her on the other end, which really, people who really should be judges, but they can't deal with the system, and they can't deal with the kind of world that it is. And so it's this kind of, I really saw it as kind of this ironic thing at the end, where it's like, the only thing we have are judges, and we don't have enough of them. And a lot of the ones that we do have are corrupt, and we can't use them. And I mean, it was kind of a sad ending, really, the way I saw it. But I don't know. You can interpret that differently, I suppose. But I don't see that character coming back and doing it again. Especially because she won't put on a helmet. You know, I mean, I think that plays into it too. I think everything about the movie is telling you that she's not going to be a judge.
I think that Judge Anderson, the reason she hands in her badge is that she knows that there's a particular kind of justice that she wants to deliver.
And she becomes Batman.
And
I mean, I can definitely see her going vigilante.
You're going vigilante, yeah, sure.
And Dredd, throughout the movie, shows, or at least shows her that he disagrees with her up until the end.
Yeah.
And then he gives her free license to exact the kind of justice that she's going to. Because, of course,
and
she's
I don't
alone
know
in
why
the
they
field.
wouldn't just use someone of her capabilities as, like, an interrogation specialist.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Keep her around, but not necessarily for a field operative.
Yeah, I would never put her in a field operative circumstance. And this isn't, I'm not trying to be sexist here, but because she's so small.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
In the same sense that in Columbiana, that travesty, she didn't make any sense as a hitman, because anyone who had 40 pounds on her, which is everyone she meets, is, you know, gonna maybe have the opportunity to get her down, and if someone's on top of her, she don't have much of a chance.
Well, we're out of time. We're gonna run out of camera here in a minute, so we need to go ahead and quit. But the only other thing I wanted to mention was I thought it was really funny that the main bad judge was named Judge Lex.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was a comic book Judge Lex. I didn't look it up, but I was like, this is really cool. You've got a corrupt guy that's manipulative and pretending to be one thing, but he's actually something else, and he's Judge Lex. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
But anyway, well, everybody, thanks a lot for watching our review of Dredd. I guess we all recommend it. I thought it was great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, indeed, I'd highly recommend it.
And thanks a lot for watching. Troy, let's have you on again very, very soon.
Absolutely. I'm glad to be back and for the opportunity.
Look for Troy soon on Recommends and other things. And thanks a lot for watching. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Vince.
And I'm Troy.
Reminding you to support Dredd. If you can see it, go watch it.
Yeah, please support this movie.
And your local comic book store.
See you later.